All right. Thank you, everyone who was able to join the call. We appreciate you coming on. Before we dive into this resource training, we'll do a brief round of introductions, and then Sarah will give a very overview of the purpose of this strategy call and the purpose of the guide that we are introducing today. So to start off, my name is Aaliyah, and I am one of the Great Lakes Regional Fellows. I joined last year onto the team after I was a student at Loras College in Dubuque, Iowa. And I've been in the fellowship for a year now, and I look forward to continuing my work with Fairtrade campaigns in the future. Sarah, if you'd like to introduce yourself quickly.
Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I am also the Great Lakes Regional Fellow for Fairtrade Campaigns. I'm also the president of the DePaul University Fairtrade Committee here, and I'm based in Chicago.
Great, thank you. And briefly, just a quick housekeeping note, if anyone is on a phone line or on their video call, if you're able to mute while you're not speaking, that'll help keep background noise and feedback to a minimum. I really appreciate that. All right, Sarah, if you would like to go ahead and give a brief overview of the guide and purpose and why we decided to do this project.
Definitely. So Ali and I started this project to kind of identify some best practices on how to find and start a Fairtrade university or college. If you're coming out of high school and entering into a college or university setting, we really wanted to create a packet to help you kind of either locate a university and transition there, or figure out how to actually start a campaign yourself at a university that isn't yet designated. So we've compiled some good resources, some case studies, some nice examples for you all. So hopefully they're useful.
Great, thank you. All right, and then I believe we are going to dive into the resource overview next. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Great. I don't have the agenda pulled up since I have my screen shared. So can everybody see the resource okay? Or does it show on my screen, is it showing just the resource page, or is it showing anything else?
It's the cover page. So what you should do if you can, Aaliyah, is zoom out a little bit. I don't know if you're able to do that. And then scroll down and we should be able to see the full thing.
Okay, one sec. Let me move my little tab here.
And if you can't, you can just scroll down as we go through as well. But right now it just says the top of the page. Perfect.
Is that too small or is that good?
I think that's just right.
Okay, and I believe, Sarah, you're starting us off with the first couple sections, and then I'll be picking up further down at the tips. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So first I'm just going to show you how to get to the map on the website, and then Kylie's going to give us a little overview on Fairtrade colleges and universities. So to locate the map on the website, all you want to do is go to fairtradecampaigns.org, and then they have immediately on the homepage is the map. There's a little search engine, which I'll wait for Aaliyah to pull up. But in the search engine, you can either search a university you're interested in, the one you're currently attending to figure out if it's designated. Here we go. Yep, you just scroll down. And here we all are. So you have your congregations, schools, towns, and universities. Universities are in yellow. You can also search by zip code. So if you know the zip, or if you just want to search via the name, you can click on universities. If Aaliyah wants to click on the little circle, you can also click there and do some search engines as well. Mm-hmm. Very simple, very easy to use tool.
All right. Thank you.
And now I'll turn it over to Kylie for the Fairtrade Universities overview.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. So Fairtrade Colleges and Universities is the largest program, designation program that Fairtrade Campaigns has, and we currently work with over 120 schools across the U.S., 120 campuses. So that's really exciting. That means that if you are a Fairtrade school advocate, moving on to college, that there's actually a pretty good chance that the school that you select, the campus that you end up on, will have a Fairtrade campaign already. And if they don't, of course, you are more than welcome to start one, and that's the point of this training today. So for us at Fairtrade Colleges and Universities, we've really thought through how do we have the most impact with our campaigns. And the reason why we focus on universities is because they have such a larger purchasing power than any other campaign, really. So we work with towns and we work with K through 12 schools and congregations, but because campuses purchase products year over year, often in such large volumes, there's a huge potential impact for fair trade. So what we work with campuses on is sourcing, purchasing fair trade, driving impact for farmers and producers through actual purchase, and education. So the goals of being a fair trade university are quite similar actually to those of being a fair trade town, but they're tailored for the university landscape. So you build your team, goal 1. You get 2 fair trade products into each outlet on campus, goal 2. 3 examples of fair trade offered through campus events, institutional events, meetings, or departments, goal 3. Goal 4, education and events, so hosting at least 4 events or having examples of fair trade in the classroom. Media coverage also counts there. So really our campuses are able to have a lot of fun as well with the campaign process, especially I think around that goal 4. We've seen, and I know Emily will speak to this in a little bit, we've seen campuses do any number of educational and outreach activities, from fair trade fashion shows to coffee tastings to film screenings to holiday pop-up fairs. The options are really endless, and we've seen a lot of creativity from a lot of our campus campaigns. And lastly, a resolution. So you do need to pass a resolution. It is signed by the president or the chancellor. So I think that there's a lot of work involved, of course, in those various steps, particularly around the sourcing goal and particularly around the resolution piece. But what we're really trying to hone in with our advocates is leadership, volunteer management skills, how do you navigate and partner with different stakeholders on campus. So all of that is something that's a component of the Fair Trade Campus campaign.
All right, great. Thank you, Kylie. I'll be continuing on with specific tips for launching a fair trade campaign as a first-year college student. So again, as Kylie said, we really want to strengthen that connection between high school and colleges, and we want to enable first-year students to be able to start a campaign. I know a lot of students during my time were not able to really start out clubs or get involved their freshman year because they didn't really know how. They weren't quite sure how to engage that way. And so they needed to, so this resource here will help them and empower freshmen to be able to start campaigns themselves. So one of the first tips that we have for first-year college students is to identify a faculty or staff advisor. They will likely be on campus longer than students. Most students traditionally are on campus for 2 to 6 years approximately. And so if only students were in charge of a campaign, you might see it fizzle out if there are not any faculty or staff involved in the campaign. And you can learn more about having a faculty or staff involved in your campaign on our Establishing Campaign Permanency page. Again, I should point out that all of these orange links, if you go to the resource yourself, will go to a new page. So the resources are endless here. One will link to another. Another great idea for a first-year student is to network and identify campaign allies. So what this means is finding other students and other organizations that are like-minded to fair trade and to your goals. So if they're interested in environmentalism or in social justice, then they might also be interested in fair trade. So in this, you can either find new people interested in fair trade, or you can help strengthen your campaign by having a new partnership. You can also potentially have an anchor organization. For example, at the school I was at, Loris, our Peace and Justice office was kind of our anchor for fair trade, because we were able to run our fair trade committee outside of that office. So we were able to pull in help from other departments of the Peace and Justice office. So looking into different organizations on your campus that might have similar interests is a great idea. Another great strategy is to incorporate fair trade into academic courses. So some schools are starting to have social justice majors and minors, or even just offering some classes on environmental justice. So it doesn't hurt to look at your school schedule and find out who is teaching these kinds of courses if they are offered, and reaching out to those professors. Not only will those professors potentially be interested in getting involved in your campaign and potentially being your advisor, they might also be interested in teaching a course on fair trade or conscious consumerism. And one final tip is to develop a student organization. So again, if you're able to create a club or committee, that really can help strengthen your campaign because it gives you permanency on the campus. You have an official position on the school, and that helps bring in new students in the future. Another key strategy for incoming freshmen is to try to use power mapping. So this is a concept that many organizations use, and that helps people brainstorm and figure out their list of key offices, decision makers, connections, really anyone that can help you out with your campaign. So these can either be people or like specific groups. So again, it could be maybe that environmental justice group could be included in your power mapping, or perhaps the professor that teaches your environmental studies class too. So some of the key decision makers that would be included in your power mapping would be environmental, sustainability, and social justice groups. So they can help you with supplying resources, funding, and also, again, an engaged population. Students are willingly signing up and volunteering to be in these groups, and so they're, again, very likely to be interested in fair trade, even if they aren't familiar with it quite yet. Another key decision maker outside of the social justice environmental realm would be the dining department. So they absolutely can influence the purchasing options on your campus, whether they have contracts already in place or are open to new contracts. They really have the buying power on campus, and they're willing to listen to students. The students are their consumers, and they want them to be happy. So if people are interested enough, then they definitely are willing to listen and hear about what kind of products you want to see on your campus. So having someone that you're comfortable with talking to in the dining office is really important, because you want to have a good outreach individual to help secure fair trade products through your different outlets. And then, of course, the administration. Again, they are there on campus likely longer than the students are, so they help with longevity of the campaign. And they also can help your team and promote your campaign in passing the resolution. While students do hold a very high say on campus, the administration also has an extra level of legitimacy, and other administrative members and faculty members will definitely listen to the administration if this is something they're interested in. So finding someone in your school administration can really help out with your campaign. There are also a few tips for promotion and visibility strategies. So this is how you want to get your campaign out and let other students know about it. So one classic example of letting students know about fair trade and educating them is tabling. So that's where you can set up and have some sort of eye attention catching or eye grabbing attention catching method that'll help bring people up to your table. So if it's a wheel that spins, that gets people really excited. Even if there's no prize, they just like to come up. And so, having some sort of engaging activity for them. And of course, information on fair trade and why you're trying to start up a campaign. And there are resources available too through fair trade campaigns for signage and for handouts.
And one of those resources that I'll just add here, thanks Aaliyah, is Fairtrade Finals. So we do have a program that we run twice a year in the fall and in the spring where we send campuses that sign up a tabling kit, you could call it, an event kit. And so it has everything you need. What Aaliyah just spoke to is really important, having signage, promotional materials, product samples. So we send all of that in this program, and it's completely free to participate. You just have to sign up, and we'll send you out a kit around finals time each fall and spring.
Thanks, Kylie. Kylie covered signage there pretty well, and again, events. So there are so many great and creative ways that you can bring fair trade to your campus, whether it's through a craft sale, a donation drive, a clothing swap. There are really fun ways that you can get students involved, and it's a great idea to play off of what students are interested in at the time. If there's some sort of political movement or interesting event that people might be more engaged in, you can always try to find an environmental, social justice, fair trade sort of way to get that involved in your campaign and to create an event around it. Also using holidays, or again, as Kylie said, the Fairtrade finals. Hosting an event around that time, or for example, at Loris, we were able to do a craft sale around right before the winter holiday break. So a lot of people were able to buy gifts for family and friends around that time to take home. One of my best and favorite tips for starting off is the timing. That's why we say here all about timing. It can be tricky, and a lot of times time can go by much faster than you anticipate. One moment it's August, and then the next you're already into your spring semester wondering where the year went. So time goes by quickly. So setting goals for yourself on a either bi-weekly or month-to-month basis can really help with keeping the momentum up on your fair trade campaign. So we do have a sample fall campaign launch timeline down here, and I mean, what's better than this is really a great example on a timeline to use. So August, September, building your team, making those connections. October, hosting meetings and campaign kickoff, meeting with the dining hall to look at what type of dining options can be procured. November, signing up through Fairtrade campaigns for the Fairtrade finals, keeping up to date on your campaign page. And then December, hosting your Fairtrade finals and setting goals for spring. So those are some of the great tips for freshmen. And my cat is on screen, silly little guy. All right, and so with that, I will turn it over to our next speaker, and I will stop sharing screen now too.
Thanks, Aaliyah. Okay, so I'm going to share a few points from my perspective from a DePaul case study in regards to this project, because as an incoming freshman for university when I was a senior in high school, I was working in a fair trade retail and I didn't want to quit, being part of the fair trade world. So I actually went and found a fair trade designated university by Googling. It's just as easy as that, because all of the information is up there, all of the resources, and with Fairtrade Campaign's extensive, website, you can easily locate which university is Fairtrade and which one isn't. So when I came to DePaul, we were talking about, how to promote this, how to actually get awareness out there that Fairtrade universities actually exist, that they're a thing. But, this is a great tool, this packet here, as well as the one on the Fairtrade Campaign's website for actually locating a university. In my instance, I didn't look for that. I didn't notice that was there. So we kind of hope this tool will be a new example for you all transitioning from high schools to universities. But, it makes things a lot faster when you actually have a document there. But that was my case. I was fortunate enough to find it just through Googling, but now things are made much simpler for all of you. But yeah, and then once you get to the university, it's also helpful to really know how to jumpstart your campaign. So a lot of the tips that Aaliyah shared were very crucial to us, like having an administration that was actually interested and invested in our campaign. So for us, that was our environmental science department. We have a faculty member who's actually seeking tenure, which means she's going to be here for a really long time. And, her thing is that she's seen presidents come and go. We're only here for so long, but really having that stable connection to still fight for your campaign is absolutely crucial. And as Kylie said about the tabling events, those are the easiest ways to get your events out of the way, and people love them. Like, we draw such huge crowds just from that one box that Fairtrade Campaign sends us. Additionally, I think some of the other things that Aaliyah was mentioning was really working with your dining. We've had great success in this. There's a lot of good negotiating tools on Fairtrade Campaign's website, which we've also linked to within the resource on how to actually get those conversations going. but overall this tool is very comprehensive. If you follow it step by step and listen to the tips, it's very easy to get your organization going. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Kylie. Kylie's got some case studies she's going to talk about.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So in just a moment, we'll get to hear from Emily Ma of Brown University, who we're really excited to have on the call, providing a live testimonial of her experience moving from a fair trade school to university campaign. But we also wanted to include the testimonials of a couple other really key advocates in our network who weren't able to join the training today. And so the first one is from Isabel Havens. Isabel moved from St. Mary's College High School in Berkeley to UCLA and actually led the campaign at UCLA as a sophomore and is now, or co-led as a sophomore, and is now leading it as a junior. So Isabel says for her testimonial and insights on how to engage in advocacy as a freshman, really what her best practices were. She says, for the last 2 years of high school, I worked on the fair trade campaign at my high school. We saw a lot of success as we became designated in under a year, very fast for a school campaign, and generated a lot of interest in students and the community. Much of this success was due to the small size of my school, so going into college, I was nervous about transition to a much bigger campus. During my first year at UCLA, I was not connected to the fair trade community at all. It was something I really missed. When I saw Kylie's email about the fellowship applications, I eagerly applied because I knew I wanted to keep advocating for fair trade. Through the fellowship, I became connected to students on campus, advocates in community campaigns, and was reminded of the power and passion in all fair trade advocates. The biggest mistake I made was only sending an email interest form to find out if there was a current fair trade campaign at my university. Sometimes you have to dig a little more to see who is working on the campaign. Through the national staff at Fairtrade Campaigns, I was introduced to students in E3, the largest sustainability organization on my campus, who are working on the campaign. Now, as a senior, I'm co-leading our campaign on campus and so eager to continue to build connections, host diverse events, and spread more knowledge about the power of fair trade. Here's a list of tips for incoming freshmen. So Isabel says, email clubs that you're interested in, and if you don't hear back, try and attend their first meeting, find out where they meet. Attend meetings and events on campus to learn about the different organizations. So fair trade is connected to many different causes, and you can always build your network through fair trade. Jump into new clubs, but don't overcommit. You have time to explore what you're interested in, and there's a lot of different directions you can be pulled, especially as a freshman on campus, so be careful with your time. Lastly, utilize the entire fair trade network. Look for community, congregations, towns, and school campaigns nearby that you can partner with. So that's Isabel's testimonial. Next, we'll read Evelyn. So Evelyn, similar situation, was at Berkeley High here in the Bay Area, one of our designated now school campaigns, and then also moved on to UCLA. So Evelyn says, during my freshman year of high school, I joined the Berkeley High Fair Trade Club. I barely knew anything about fair trade, but the club helped educate me and provided the tools to educate others. Now I am extremely passionate about fair trade and committed to expanding awareness on UCLA's campus. Coming to UCLA, one of the largest universities in the country, I knew that I wanted to get involved in fair trade, but I wasn't sure how. Luckily, the Fair Trade Club at UCLA was already established, which made the transition much easier. I found a group of people who felt similar to me about the importance of fair trade and were working hard to increase awareness of fair trade at UCLA. They had already made so much progress in getting products into the dining halls and vendors on campus. Building connections with members of the UCLA governing body and dining services was really crucial to our success in the past and continues to be extremely beneficial. There are so many ways to get people involved and excited about fair trade because it encompasses and strives to combat so many issues. I highly recommend the approach of tailoring the approach for generating support and awareness of fair trade to the interest of your stakeholders. For example, some people on our campus care a lot more about the environmental issues, while others may want to learn more about the social justice aspect. I would recommend trying to learn more about a certain organization or governing body and use their goals and objectives to advocate for fair trade. Particularly as a freshman first year on campus, it's all about who you know and who you're connected with.
Great. Thank you so much, Kylie. That was both beautifully spoken on their behalf. And unfortunately, they couldn't be on the call today, but you filled in spectacularly. All right. So next, I would like to introduce Emily Ma. She's from Brown University. She's a sophomore there currently. And she was involved in her fair trade campaign at her high school, which is Emma Willard, which was the first fair trade school in New York. fun fact. So I won't give away too many more details, and I'll pass it on over to Emily to tell us a bit about her experiences transitioning from a Fairtrade High School into college.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, hi, I'm Emily, and thank you for the introduction. So I'll just share a bit about how I got involved in the college campaign. So when I was at Emma Willard, I was a member of our Fair Trade organization, but I didn't participate in the designation process. So I, excuse me. So I actually didn't get to know the full picture of what it took to designate a school. So actually coming to Brown was the time when I actually learned the ins and outs of the process of getting stakeholder buy-in and talking about what fair trade is and why it's significant. And so I think if I were to talk about some of the things that we've done and how we got started, I think the key thing is to first find out any students who are interested or who want to get on board with you. So for me, I got connected through via Kylie to my co-partner, Camila, who also was a very passionate fair trade advocate at her high school. And so we got connected over coffee one day, and through that, we then brainstormed on how to move forward. And so I think one of the important things that any new college student want to consider if you want to start a campaign at your college is to definitely find students who are like-minded or students who are interested in fair trade, interested in worker justice, to brainstorm possibilities of working on a project. And from there on, I went to the club fair, so I did some thorough research on what organizations are available, and I realized that there weren't any organizations specifically advocating for international worker justice. And there we have a lot of groups working on labor justice in our campus, or Immigrants' Rights Coalition, as well as some food sustainability groups, but not a group that specifically targeted international workers. So we thought that that was a good gap to fill, and so we then asked the Environmental Umbrella Organization if they wanted, they could let us do a presentation and see if we could become a member organization. So that was our first unofficial teach-in with the student leaders there. And unfortunately, we didn't become a member group, but we were asked to collaborate with an existing sustainability food initiative. And so that group did a lot of work around the local food system, which we thought was actually an interesting angle for us to sort of collaborate on. And so that was a place where we were able to build allies. We were able to actually engage and try to see what are students on campus actually interested in. And so through collaborating with that group, we were able to actually get access to funding, which I think is very key. So that is something that maybe students would want to look for, is to find if there is an existing sustainability group that you can start with, and know that in the end, as you build your base and recruit membership, you can become an independent organization. And so, yeah, after that, we were able to do a lot of sort of educational activities, and that was our focus for our first semester. And throughout that, we were also trying to, again, engage campus climate, knowing that not every single school has the same sort of acceptance towards different way of doing worker justice. So fair trade can have different connotations in different contexts. And so it was interesting seeing what the students that questions have, the oppositions that students have to this model and to our campaign. So we took a semester-ish to kind of engage campus climate and see if whether there is sufficient demand for this movement. And throughout this process, we were able to also learn about get to start meeting faculty and also meet staff in dining to also kind of start our mapping and knowing who are important people who have decision-making power. And so I would say that our first semester is focusing on awareness raising, getting the word out, as well as researching and seeing the gaps that need to be filled on our campus. So I think these are crucial things to start with, even before planning to register as an independent organization. I think that these are important things to know, and also starting to brainstorm the mission statement. So I think the mission statement was something that we were able to boil down over and after the summer. So it took a while, but I think that the time of again, engaging with students before pigeonholing into all the specific goals that Fairtrade Campaigns has for us is actually really helpful. And after the summer, we were able to then want to sort of have a fresh start and start actually registering to be an organization and also being able to polish our language in how to describe our group and how to describe what our goals are. And so right now we are interested in focusing on sourcing as our primary goal in dining, as well as doing action. So we think that a lot of students at our campus specifically are very into social activism and finding a lot of links between worker justice and a lot of issues that are impacting our communities here. And so actually this past weekend, another member and I went on it's a workshop/conference. It was 4 days in Immokalee, Florida. It was organized by the Coalition of the Immokalee Workers and the Student Farm Worker Alliance, which is they started the Fair Food program, which is very similar to the Fair Trade model, but it started in Florida and is expanding into their 7th state right now. And so it's also another social responsibility model. But what was really powerful about that was the farm workers were driving that movement, and we were able to meet with the farm workers. And so attending conferences and events like that, and also getting to know other national chapters, other organizations that are also advocating for worker rights domestically is also super helpful for us, because through that experience, we also got to meet other students who are also doing similar activism, and that gave us also is helpful to help us build our member base and just give us more insight into how to make fair trade more sustainable on our campus. So that's just one example of building allies and really educating, like even as a student leader, it's really important to educate ourselves on the topic of work justice and fair trade. So that is something that I think is really valuable, and I would definitely encourage students to look out for these opportunities. And so yeah, that's where we're at right now. We're hoping to get more fair trade products in our dining hall as our first goal, and alongside of that, partnering with organizations, student organizations, as well as the Student Farm Worker Alliance that we went to the conference with to participate in action. They have a National Week of Action. They're actually doing a boycott Wendy's protest and teach-ins, and so we're hoping to integrate our materials on fair food, on fair trade with the international lens. So we're hoping to do teach-in on our campus, and then encourage students to participate in the national action that we're planning to do in actually Boston with other Boston schools. So that is sort of our agenda for this semester, and then alongside that, we're hoping to plan some more like community events that are more laid back. So students don't always have to feel like they're sitting in a room at a meeting trying to absorb a lot of information. So we're hoping to do some tea times where we can invite the faculty or talk about a book or watch a movie or documentary and just be able to converse about it, and also have it just be in line with our goals and strategies. So these are just some things that we're planning on for the semester and year. So yeah, sorry I've spent a lot of time talking, but that's sort of where we have evolved. And yeah, we're still building our membership and also trying to build community and let students know each other and feel that they belong to this movement. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily. You don't need to be sorry at all. This was an awesome opportunity to hear your experiences, and it was perfectly thorough and great to hear about. So with that, we are wrapping up. So this training guide that we shared on screen can be found at www.fairtradecampaigns.org. And in the search bar, you can look up Finding and Starting, and you'll be able to see it as one of the first options to click on. And it can either be viewed in your browser or you can download the guide if you would like. And again, thank you, Emily, so much. We really do appreciate you joining in and being able to speak on your experiences at Emma Willard and at Brown. And thank you, Sarah and Kylie, too, of course, for all of your work. And thank you to our wonderful audience for all listening in, and to our future audiences who will be using this. If anybody has any last words, otherwise, again, thank you. And that is all for tonight.